Alrighty, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Fishbowl. I am your host, Preston Hubris. I'm here with my co-host,
Rayna, bravo.
and welcome back to episode 2, where we're going to talk about some mental health topics, anything and events going on in the Brevard County area, and ask each other some questions, as we are a mother and son duo, a mental health professional and a 22-year-old who has grown up in this age of technology where we have seen a big shift in mental health and breaking the stigma that has been surrounded by mental health for so many years. So, Mom, I know you came prepared with some events and some questions. So if you want to talk about maybe some events going on in the Brevard County mental health community.
Absolutely. We're coming up on the holiday season, and there's going to be lots of fun things. One event I wanted to point out is one of our amazing people over at Live Well Behavioral Health. They are hosting a Merry and Bright Brevard where you can drop off an unwrapped gift or gift cards for children ages 3 to 15, and that is going to be on December 5th in the Melbourne area from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And of course, information is on the websites for Live Well Behavioral Health and Journey Pure websites, as well as Recovery Connection of Central Florida. But anywhere, I've also seen flyers everywhere that there's just stuff coming up. And especially in this time of the year, it is so important for people to make sure that they are reaching out when their stress levels are getting high and that they are feeling overwhelmed, or that they need to just kind of take a minute to pause because they're being pulled in so many different directions, and they're just needing to reach out to take some time to just breathe. We see sometimes people at foundations counseling with appointments they want to cancel, for example, because it's the holidays, and they're like, oh, I'm just so overwhelmed. And what happens, we tell them you are overwhelmed because this is the time of year. So we really encourage those appointments. People, keep your appointments. Your mental health is just as important as your physical health. That time is your time to unplug, reset, breathe, and to re-regulate all of that stress that is happening on the outside. And so those appointments are super, super important for you to keep. And of course, the option is always there to move your appointments to telehealth. I know from our office, I can't speak for other mental health offices in the Brevard County and area, but I just want to really encourage everyone out there, if you are feeling overwhelmed and stressed, just making sure that you just always take that time to communicate with your providers. And even if you have to cut your short sessions a little shorter, you're better off of keeping it just to re-regulate and to get that safe space and to have that time with your provider.
Yeah, it's the most wonderful time of the year, as they say. It's also the busiest time of the year, and I don't think mental health goes on a holiday break really ever. You're still going to have anything you're dealing with does not care that the holidays are coming up. They don't care about the turkey trot. They don't care about cranberry sauce. They're going to keep making sure that they're there. So our mental health providers in the Brevard County area do a great job at making sure they are there. Your mental health problems will also make sure that they're there. So keep your mental health appointments. Keep the holidays fun and the time they're supposed to be, quality time with the ones you love, with your friends, with your family. And don't get overwhelmed because it is busy. You want to see everybody, but just remember it is important to take a deep breath and it will all work out okay. Now, Mom, you had some questions you want to talk about?
Well, one of the things I wanted to do on this podcast, as we had mentioned about it being the fishbowl, and that transparency is kind of just, as we evolve, we're going to actually hopefully have a fishbowl where we just grab some video on here where we grab a topic out and just pull out and just speak off of that topic.
Yeah.
as we bring guests on and things along those lines and out in the community. Hopefully we'll be able to do some live streaming at our event on the 5th with Live Well. So that'll be kind of cool to see. But I wanted to ask you, what is the best advice you've ever received? Now, obviously, I'm going to say not from me because I know all the advice is going to be the best advice from me, but in general.
Some non-motherly advice.
Yes.
You know, I saw this on, funny enough, social media. You know, there's a lot of negative stigma with social media and how social media can negatively impact mental health. But it says, maybe you don't realize how good you're doing because you keep raising the bar. And I think that what that means is that we humans, we're always chasing what we don't have. We're never so many people are never satisfied with what they have. You know, an example I go with is when I was in high school, one of the things I wanted to do was play college baseball. And then I got to college, and then it was like, okay, now I want to get stronger. Okay, now I want to get stronger. Okay, now I want to throw harder. Okay, now I want to. And it's so imperative and important that every once in a while, I stop and just take that deep breath and be like, look how much you've accomplished in 4 years, in 2 years, in a year. You know, I think back to myself, my sophomore year. You know, I was coming off an injury and you know, I had strained my a ligament in my elbow, and you know, had to rehab for 6 months. I was on Accutane for 10 months, and I think about where I was at in my life at that point and where I am today. And high school me would have looked at that person if it didn't know it was me and been so impressed and proud of that person. And sometimes I need to remember that and not get so hard on myself, like, oh, I'm not where I want to be. Oh, I can be better. Oh, I can be better. Yes, there's always room for improvement. It's finding that middle ground between satisfaction and comfortableness, because you don't want to get comfortable. I don't like using the term comfortable, because when you're comfortable, you get complacent. And if you get complacent, then you're never going to continue to strive for something more in life. So there's a fine line between complacency and motivation.
Sure, I would agree with that. And I think raising that bar, though, like you're saying, it's so different for everybody. And I think it's having those own personal goals, of that bar being your own personal goal and not always comparing it to that person next to you.
Well, that's another thing is, so, you know, for years, I'll just keep relating it to athletic events because, you know, I've been an athlete pretty much my entire life.
True.
So when I got to college, I couldn't bench 225. Couldn't do it. My bench press has never been super good. My brother Cooper, his bench press has always been better than mine. Shout out Coop, you're really good at bench press. But I got you in squat though. Don't get me wrong. When I got to college, I really wanted to bench 225. I wanted to get strong enough to bench 225. And, you know, I started working with Ridge, who, you've met a couple times, and we got that up to 225. And then it was like, well, I have teammates who can bench 275 and 315. But rather than look at it that, oh, I'm not doing good enough because I can't bench 315, I really reconciled within myself, like, you got to that 225 threshold. Now let's build. And now I'm much better at bench press now. My max and what I can get for one rep is a lot higher than 225 now. I'm not at that 315 range yet, but I'm not sitting there being like, oh, I'm not there, or I'm not doing good enough because I'm not there. Sure. I'm using it as motivation, but I'm not getting too caught up with, oh, somebody else is doing that, so I'm not good enough because I can't. You know, it's that using it as internal motivation and not comparing to somebody else that's allowing me to kind of keep mentally sane. And
well, do you think that that's a challenge in today, especially with social media and today's society, is how do we keep that focus on our goals are set with ourselves and not that we have to make our goals determined on what someone else's benchmark or level is, that person that's next to us, or oh, that person has a nicer car, or a nicer jewelry, or can bench more than I can, or has a, how do we what would be your advice, even for anybody, not even
as somebody who's grown up, as somebody who's been a student athlete for 10 to 12 years now, went through the IB program in high school, did a fast track for his master's program, and is currently in a graduate program as a student athlete. One piece of advice I would is to limit your screen time. It's something I started 3 years ago now.
Okay.
I put in a time limit on my apps. I don't allow myself more than an hour a day on social media apps. So I'm not sitting there, scrolling, losing track and losing hours and hours of time. And another thing is journal. Write down your thoughts. I have a journal. It's not something to be ashamed of. Now people don't read my journal. Nobody knows where it is. But
I'm a big as a therapist, and I've always been, and maybe you got that from me, from big young you. Journaling is great, and I'm a big advocate for it. My thing is, there's prompt journals. I'm a huge advocate for prompt journals, because especially out there is self-discovery. And so going back to our original topic of this, is I really feel prompt journals helps focus us on us, and how do we stay focused on our personal journey, our personal goals, so we don't get distracted by what the next person next to us is doing. So we're not comparing what our goals are, and that I want to achieve what the next person has, rather than, okay, I'm good enough to achieve what my goal that I'm setting for me is. Do you know what I'm saying as far as that goes?
So when I journal, because I still journal to this day, it's something I started my sophomore year. And I have a journal on my bookshelf in my room, and it's something I do is I write every day as a letter to my future self.
Cool.
So I don't have necessarily a prompt every day, but I start it with "Dear Me" and I sign it "Sincerely Me."
That's awesome.
So it's every time I talk, and it's whether it's things I'm working towards in life, whether it's a recap of the day I had that day, whether it's some training I'm going to toward a goal down the line. But
that's
now,
your prompt. Your prompt is that for you. So, and that's why I always tell people that sometimes if you have open journals and you don't have it focused on anything, we get wrapped into a negative thought process. So that's why I always try to tell people, don't open journal, so your prompt is that, dear to your future self.
Yeah,
so
dear me, here's what you did today. Here's what you
Awesome.
accomplished today. Here's what you're working towards today.
Yeah.
Cool. And that's something that has helped me find goals, maybe when I've accomplished goals and kept going on a different goal, and also help reset if I started feeling like I was losing track of those goals. Like, oh, hey, remember, this is what you're working towards,
Awesome.
So
I like that. That's really neat.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I think,
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, of course. I think that's the bar raising can be a good thing, because it's showing your drive for more and you're striving for success and greatness, but also remember how far you've come. Don't lose track of the process where you've come from. You can keep elevating your standards in that bar, but don't lose track of how hard you've worked and the process you've made, because we're all working towards being better in life. Everybody wants to better their life in some way, shape, or form. So if I had to leave you guys with one thing for this episode, it's appreciate the process, remember the process, but always strive for more out of yourself, because the day you stop striving for something is the day you lose all your potential. Because if you stop working towards something, you'll never know how far you can go.
That's true. Awesome. Well, very good. Well, thank you. That's great insight for my topic for today, the advice. So very good. So another exciting stuff for at Foundations Counseling. We are every day so expanding and amazingly. Definitely check out our website at www.fc321.org to see our amazing team. We have some new people that have joined us. Read their bios, and we have some openings for some new therapists.
Yes.
Also, some expansion. We are expanding in probably mid-December, but into January. So we'll have some new open spaces. We're super excited
New
about
things coming with the new year. So be on the lookout for that, and new things and exciting things to come around the Brevard County mental health community.
Yeah, we're super excited. So as always, drop below some topics you'd like for us to talk about. And hopefully we'll have some live streaming at the event with Live Well. And we will see you next time.
Yes, thank you guys for listening. As always, I'm Preston Hoovers.
And I'm Rayna Bravo.
Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.